you got to learn how to take your hands off the steering wheel. And you got to give it up to God. God, take the wheel. You got to let God take the wheel sometimes. And what that looks like is just getting out of God's way. You know, so often, you know, people, you ask the Lord, you ask God to give you signs, and you ask for certain things in life. And then once God starts making these things happen for you, or he starts making room for these things to happen, you get in the way. Out of your own fear, out of your own foolishness. You don't allow God to do what God does. You know, it's just like if you were to buy a house, and that house already had someone else's furniture, someone else's bed, someone else's dishes. Like the house was, you literally are moving in to a house that somebody just walked out of, and you start bringing your stuff into the house. That house will be very cluttered because you haven't made room for the new furniture. You haven't made room for your stuff, for the new things. And that's how it is in life sometimes, you know. I know me personally, like I ask God for clarity a lot. God, please give me clarity and allow me the discernment to recognize the clarity when it's given to me. And I had to learn, though. I noticed that my prayers were always answered, but what that looks like is not always beautiful, right? It's not like, oh, you make that prayer, God, give me clarity, give me this, and then everything is sunshine and roses. No. A lot of times for the things that you want to happen in life and the things that you ask God for, there's a removal process. God has to start removing things out of your life, right? So you'll say, hey, you're seeking clarity, right? And then now you're wondering why certain friendships are crumbling and they're not as stable as they once were, right? You're falling out of love with people. Certain relationships are coming to an end, right? But what we do as people, when those things start to happen, we start trying to repair it. We start trying to repair what God has unraveled. You know what I'm saying? Once those friendships start getting shaky because it's so familiar to you, you get worried. And you're like, oh, no, I gotta fix this. I gotta take your hands off the steering wheel. You gotta learn to take your hands off the steering wheel and let God have control. That friendship has become shaky because God is removing that from your life. You understand? That relationship has to end, right? You know, you may lose a job. And I understand, you know, that's your livelihood. That's nothing to play about, you know. But God is removing that to give you more opportunity. But you're so afraid to let go. You're so afraid to let go of what's already the reality. You're so afraid to let go of what you have. You're not trusting God. You got to let God do his thing. You got to take your hands off the steering wheel. You got to. God's trying to remove things out of your life. And he's not going to just leave you with nothing. That relationship, that friendship, that job you lost, that whatever that had to be removed from your life, oh, he's going to replace it with something better, with something a lot better. You know, that's just what it is, man. And yeah, man. I just wanted to speak, man. I just wanted to speak to y'all today and just like really put that on your mind. Like oftentimes, man, people they say they got faith and they say they believe in a higher power, but you notice that they're always anxious or they're always fearful or doubtful. Well, if you believe in a higher power, how can you have fear? How can you have such doubt? If you believe in this higher power, if you believe in God, allow God to do what he does. Get out of the way. Sometimes you are in God's way. You're not even in your own way. We're in our own way most of the time, but sometimes we're in God's way. He's trying to clean house. You wonder why that you know this situation that you're in is making you uncomfortable and it's starting to become chaotic. God's trying to remove that from you. He's trying to get you out of that. But you keep trying to put the pieces back together. No, step back, take your hands off the wheel and allow it to be. Allow it to be, man. And so that's today's message. Let God handle it. Get out of the way. Sometimes you got to get out of the way. God absolutely has equipped us with the abilities and the capabilities to do wonderful things on this earth. But at the same time, weapons will be formed against you. Weapons will be formed. You can guarantee that weapons will be formed. But sometimes, man, you have to just surrender to God's way, man. You got to get out of the way. You got to get out of the way. All is well.